So in my recent unboxing of the 5th generation of Apple's iPod Touch line, I said that I'd be doing a full-fledged review. Well, the time for that full-fledged review is here, and I'm ready to tell you all about the iPod Touch 5th generation. Yes, I only uploaded that unboxing a few days ago, but I've actually owned the 5th generation iPod Touch ever since it came out back in 2012. And I can tell you that this is an excellent product. So in this video, I wanted to go ahead and give you some things to compare it to. So I was gonna go ahead and I decided that would compare it to several other products that you may have used in the past yourself. So one of which we're going to look at it in a little comparison over the previous generation of the iPod Touch 4th generation. Another device that I picked out that would be good to test this iPod up against is one of the most popular smartphones in the world, the iPhone 5S. This is Apple's most popular phone up until the iPhone 6. So this is an excellent phone. I've been using it ever since it launched last year, and I love the iPhone 5S. It's a fantastic phone. Very similar design to the iPod Touch. We'll look at that in a moment. And I chose one last product to stick against this and give you a little comparison between, and that is the iPad mini with Retina display. This is the 128 gigabyte Retina version of the iPad mini. I do have the original iPad mini, which is almost exactly like spec for spec the same thing as the iPod Touch 5th generation, so I may do a video on that in the future, but it's not very fair to compare my original iPad mini to the iPod Touch 5th generation here, because my iPad mini is still running iOS 6 and my iPod Touch is obviously running iOS 7, so it's not a fair comparison. With that being said, I do have a 5th generation iPod Touch with iOS 6, so if you guys want to see that, drop me a comment down below. I'll make that happen, but keep in mind that it's either going to be with iOS 7 or with iOS 6, so I can go ahead and do a comparison of that, but it's just not going to be that up to date, and it's not going to have the same operating system, something like that. That's what you're going to run into. Now, I do have a red iPod Touch 5th generation, so I can tell you that I do like the color of the iPod Touch 5th generation, and the black one looks very nice, but they no longer make the slate edition. And I really liked the slate because it has a black front, much like the black iPhone. So what you're getting nowadays with the 2013-14 lineup, if you go get it, you're going to get a space gray color, which looks like this. So that is really the major difference between the two, is the color of the device itself. So if you actually go out and pick up one of these today, you're going to get this lighter color instead of this dark color. So it's similar to the silvery color. It's a little darker than silver, but you will be able to tell a difference between the two. So keep in mind that my model is a little bit darker than the ones that you may be able to go pick up today in your Apple Store. You can buy this color refurbished, however, so if you go to the refurbished part of Apple's website, you can still pick up the Slate edition in addition to this one here, which of course being my iPhone, so you can pick it up or you can choose whichever color you'd like better if you go for a refurbished model. Keep in mind that this model here is available only in 32 and 64 gigs. The 16 gigabyte one does not come in this color. The 16 gigabyte one only comes in the, space gray color. My apologies. Trying to keep all this together in the video is a little rough. So let's go ahead and get into the iPod. I want to give you a brief overview. This is going to run a little long. This is going to be probably one of my longest videos on the channel. But I want to give you a good in-depth look at this device before we go and we compare it. So this is going to be probably a couple, maybe 20-minute long video. So do stay tuned because it's going to give you a really in-depth look at this device and how things on it stack up to today's standards. So first off, let's take a look at what this device is meant to do. It's meant to play music And you're going to get a fantastic, almost smartphone style feel off of this phone. So it's very similar to having the iPhone. As a matter of fact, the music application that you get on the iPod Touch is a mirrored copy of what you get on the iPhone. When you go landscape, you get the same information. You get pretty much the exact same thing on the iPod Touch that you're going to get on an iPhone. The only difference being you don't have the cellular capabilities, but it does have a great speaker. So if you're going to listen to it, you can easily listen to music, and it does have a nice built-in speaker. You can get an idea of how it sounds right there. So very nice built-in speaker on the iPod Touch, if I do say so myself. You can definitely hear it all the way across the room. So if you're in a room and you say don't have a Bluetooth speaker, or you don't have a way that you can plug it in, which of course you can plug in via a 3.5mm headset jack and go out to a stereo if you so choose. So if you'd like to go out to something like that, you're able to do that. So that was coming off of my speaker, my iHome over here in the corner. So that's the kind of audio you get when it goes out. It sends out. It is very nice when you're playing something out of it. Now, installing an application-wise, the iPod Touch is an excellent device for playing games and browsing the web and things like that. But that's pretty much what it's meant to be for. It is meant to be a smartphone that is contract-free. This is Apple's way to attack the cheaper Android phones. What I look at the iPod Touch as is it's more like the iPod Nano of the lineup if you look at an iPad. If you take a look at the iPad Mini, the iPad Mini is a scaled-down version of Apple's iPad Air from 2014. The iPad Air, it's pretty much the exact same thing as the first generation of the iPad Air. So if we go out and we compare this to it, this is like a scaled-down version of the scaled-down iPad Air. So this is the smallest thing. This is pretty much exactly spec-wise the iPad Mini first generation. Like I said already, it is spec-wise the iPad Mini first generation. If you want to compare it to something, if you have an iPad Mini, this is like the iPad Mini, but it's even more pocketable. It is the same size as the iPhone 5 and 5S. So this is a Wi-Fi only device. Now, you probably already know that, but I just wanted to go ahead and stress that this does not work offline. You cannot do things like stream Pandora, but Pandora does work. You can launch Pandora, you can listen to Pandora on the iPod Touch. I have it installed, but I don't have my account set up. I only have this installed right here to give you a little demo of how this stuff works, but I can demo iTunes Radio real quick. So if I tap on Christmas music, we can hear the music playing. Let me go ahead and turn that off so I don't run into some copyright issues. But I do want to say if you go offline, it will disappear on the iPod Touch. So it may have loaded a little bit of it. I'm going to go ahead and skip, and it'll say network unavailable, so you're not going to be able to listen to things and do things offline. You've got to have an internet connection to use iTunes Radio and Pandora and things of that nature. So if you're at home, or you're at the mall or the library or wherever you may go, restaurant, school, you're probably going to have access to the internet, and the iPod Touch will do just fine. Now, you do also have access to some of the best games in the App Store. As you know, the App Store is excellent for its gaming title selection. So if we look at the different games that there are available in the App Store, you'll find that there are a whole lot of them that work with the 5th generation iPod Touch. And that's really good because the iPod Touch is meant for media consumption, so you can get almost anything that you're going to want on this device. This is pretty much the guts of an iPhone 4S with the hardware of an iPhone 5. It's kind of a crossover between three of Apple's high-end phones, and it's got the camera of the iPad Air or the iPhone 4 if we want to keep it with phones. So the camera on the back is a 5 megapixel shooter, which when you compare that to the iPhone 5S, it does sound a little weak when we compare that 8 megapixel camera to this 5 megapixel one that you find on the iPod Touch. However, when we compare that to the sub 1 megapixel camera of the 4th generation of Apple's iPod Touch, there's not so much to complain about. The iPod Touch 5th generation definitely takes a better shot than the 4th generation of the iPod Touch, and you get some pretty good features with that camera included as well. So let's stick something in here. You can see my phone sticking around the back side, and we can take a picture. Very simple to do that. The UI is pretty simple to use. iOS is a fairly simple operating system to begin with. So if I want to swipe across to my video mode, I can just push across the display, and I'm now capable of shooting 1080p video. And here we are looking around the desk a little bit. There's my iHome dock that I played music off of a minute ago. So I'm capable of filming with my iPod Touch. It does definitely get the job done, and it is a fairly nice camera. There's also a square mode for you Instagram fans out there. If you really like your Instagram, there is a mode to take squared off pictures. And there is also a panorama mode, which does just that. It takes a panorama, and it does a good job of it. I definitely have nothing to complain about with panoramas. You also have photo filters, so if you want to apply a photo filter, you can add a photo filter. Let's just do black and white. As you can see now, if I put something in front of the iPod Touch's lens, it is in black and white. Let us move over to the photo one, and you can see the difference. It adds a filter. Those filters can be removed in post. So if I take a picture, and it does have a flash, as you saw, the flash just went off there. So if I take this photo and I want to edit it, I can come to my iPod camera roll over here in Photos, and I can bounce into the settings, edit, and I have the same color grade effects, and I can change the color and look of the photo. Let's go and get a photo that's easier to tell. Let's take a look at this picture right here. So if I want to change that, I have some editing tools that I can use. I can change the color of the picture to whatever I'd like it to look like, and once I'm happy with it, I can go ahead and set that photo and leave it the way I like it. I can rotate it so I can send any picture in any direction I wish. I can crop the picture, so if I want to crop it down to that square, I can crop it down to a square, and it will show only that cutoff area in the square there, which makes it easy to add photos to Instagram and things like that. So it's very simple to edit pictures on the iPod Touch. And with iOS 8, there's even more controls that you can get on the iPod Touch 5th generation. It also comes with some more pre-installed things. Another thing that this operating system has that I do like, that iOS 6 failed to add, and every operating system prior to 7, was quick toggles. So if you're looking for quick toggles, they're here for the first time in iOS 7, and they are excellent. I can go ahead and raise and lower my brightness. I can add my LED torch light on the back so that I can get a good look at things at night if I'm using my iPod Touch in the dark. I can AirPlay out to an Apple TV right from there. They moved that from multitasking. I can airdrop my files, so if I have a file on my iPod that I want to share with my phone, very simple to do that. And of course with iOS 8 and later, you are definitely able to do the AirPlay, or what, I don't forget what it's called, but you swipe up from the bottom corner, it'll come to me eventually. Handoff. You are able to do handoff with iOS 8 on the iPod Touch. That is a feature of the iPod Touch. Handoff is included. You're also able to access your Bluetooth. You can turn on Bluetooth, you can turn off Bluetooth. You can enable the orientation lock, so when you're in an app that goes sideways, when you enable that, it won't go sideways, and that way if you're, say, laying down in bed and you want to text somebody, it's not constantly flipping back and forth between portrait and landscape. It will stay where you want it. So that pretty much covers some most of the fundamental features of the iPod Touch. Like I said, it will definitely play some of the games. It's not meant for super intense games though. So I mean, it will definitely play things simple like Flappy Bird here. Alright, so I died. But it will definitely play things like Flappy Bird. If you're wanting to play Flappy Bird, you can totally do that on the iPod Touch. 5th generation. They will work just fine. So I want to go ahead and compare the iPod Touch to the iPhone 5S. As we all know, the iPhone 5S is one of the better phones that Apple has made. So I wanted to compare it slightly to the 5th generation of the iPod Touch. Let's get that brightness down a little bit. That is definitely distracting the shot. So as you can see, I have a lot of apps on my iPhone. I use my iPhone a million times more than the iPod Touch 5th generation, and I actually only have this set up for a review. Otherwise, there would be a lot more on here, more music, videos, photos, and things like that. But this one, I simply reset it for this review, and I didn't want to have a lot of stuff on the iPod since I was reviewing it. So I reset it, or otherwise it would probably look like this, because I love my applications on my handheld devices. So I wanted to load one of the notoriously bad apps to load. Plants vs. Zombies takes forever to load. So I just wanted to give you a little look at the two. Oops, I think I set the iPhone off just a bit ahead of it. But it is off and it is loading. Let me see if we can keep both of these in the frame. As you can see, the iPhone and the iPod Touch are... well, that is a little odd. The iPod Touch is actually finished loading Plants vs. Zombies already, and we are into the setup screen here, and the iPhone finished second. I found that odd because the iPod Touch's processor is slower. I really was not expecting that. Let's launch Temple Run 2. Let's see if this performance... it may be simply because I have... oh, you know what? It may be because I had some other things running in the background. Let's close out of everything but Plants vs. Zombies on both devices. And let's try that again. Let's go ahead and try it this time with Flappy Bird. Oops. I caused the same problem. Let's close out of both and we'll try it again with Flappy Bird. So there we go, iPhone 5S, little bit faster. Let's do it one more time with Temple Run 2. We should see the same results. iPhone loaded and ready to go. iPod Touch, still thinking about it. Still trying to get that up and running. We're waiting on the 5th generation iPod Touch. And there we go. So we finally have both devices up and ready to play on the two devices here. So that is definitely one of my longer videos. I want to go ahead really quick here. Before I go, I only have a few more seconds that I can film right now, but I wanted to compare it to the iPad in terms of the speed and overall usage of the device. So if we compare it to the iPad here with Retina display, this is the iPad mini with Retina display, comparing these two devices, you're going to be happy with either choice. I love both, I use both, not so much as my phone. Both of these devices are kind of used mainly, the iPod Touch is used mainly around the house. I'm not gonna lie, I use the iPod Touch mostly around the house. The iPad, however, I take it with me and I do some minor work with it. I do like the iPad, and I think the iPad is a great choice. And with the 1st generation iPad mini being $50 more than the iPod Touch, you get 16 gigs of storage on both. You might as well, it's all going to depend on whether you want a pocketable device or a miniature tablet. That's the real difference between the two, is whether it fits in your pocket. So that is pretty much my review. Overall, I can tell you I love the iPod Touch 5th generation. Would you buy it today? Well, I think you should wait a little bit. If you're planning on getting this for, say, a Christmas gift or something, I say you wait until the beginning of 2015 to see if they come out with a new 6th generation of the iPod Touch alongside the Apple Watch. To see, where we get with these things, because the 5th generation of the iPod Touch is now 3 years old, so I would recommend maybe holding off a little bit when it comes to actually purchasing a new device. Price point is good. 16 gigabytes runs at $199, 32 at $249, and 64 gigabytes comes in at just $299. So it is one of Apple's cheapest devices to run iOS. So if you're looking for a device for iOS, this is the one to get. So that concludes my review of the iPod Touch 5th generation. Yes, it's an excellent device. It has everything you need on an iPod. It is a great device, and I would recommend it to anyone with children and things like that are wanting a smartphone, but you're not wanting to actually get them a phone. This is perfect. It has everything your iPhone has. Of course, it has Siri on there, so if they're wanting that Siri functionality, you can get Siri on the iPod Touch 5th generation. They can ask all the questions that they could ever want to know and just have a conversation